Welcome to XRP Pro Ledger, and today we are going deep on something that Brad Garlinghouse said at Consensus 2026 in Miami, that most people in this community either did not hear or heard and immediately misunderstood. 3 words: I am not an XRP Maxi. Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple, the company that created XRP, stood on the stage at the most important crypto conference of the year and said those exact words. And I want you to stay with me through this entire breakdown, because at the 7-minute mark, I am going to show you exactly why those 3 words are actually the most strategically important statement any Ripple executive has made in 2026, and why the full context of what Garlinghouse said at Consensus tells you something very specific about where XRP is positioned in the institutional financial system that is being built right now. But first, let us establish exactly what Garlinghouse said, because the clips circulating on social media have been cut in ways that remove the context that makes them significant. At Consensus 2026 in Miami, Brad Garlinghouse made 3 specific statements that need to be understood together. Statement 1, I have never been an XRP Maxi. Statement 2, I want Bitcoin to succeed. Statement 3, tribalism is bad for our industry. It is not going to be a one-chain world. It is a multi-chain world. Now here is what the community is missing when they read those 3 statements in isolation. The CEO of Ripple explicitly distancing himself from XRP maximalism is not a sign of weakness in XRP's position. It is a sign that Ripple's institutional strategy has matured beyond the need for tribalism. When Garlinghouse says it is a multi-chain world, he is not conceding ground to Bitcoin or Ethereum. He is describing the institutional reality that every major bank, every asset manager, every payment infrastructure provider that Ripple has been working with is building on multiple chains simultaneously. MasterCard is not choosing between XRP Ledger and Ethereum. It is using both. JP Morgan is not choosing between XRP Ledger and its own blockchain. It is integrating multiple chains into a single institutional settlement framework. The institutional financial system that is being built in 2026 is multi-chain by design, and XRP has a specific function within that multi-chain world that no other asset can replicate. XRP is the bridge. In a world where multiple chains are processing different types of assets and settlements, the asset that moves value between chains, between corridors, between currencies, between liquidity pools needs to be fast, cheap, and neutral. XRP was built for exactly that function. Garlinghouse is not saying XRP is one option among equals in the multi-chain world. He is saying XRP is the infrastructure that makes the multi-chain world function. Now let us talk about why the multi-chain statement is actually more bullish than maximalism would be. If Garlinghouse stood on stage and said XRP will replace Bitcoin and Ethereum and every other chain, every institutional compliance department in the world would dismiss him as a promoter. Every serious asset manager would discount his analysis. Every bank that is building on multiple chains simultaneously would question whether Ripple understands the institutional reality they are operating in. By saying it is a multi-chain world, Garlinghouse is speaking the language that institutional infrastructure builders actually use. He is saying XRP's role is not to win a tribalism contest. It is to be the most useful bridge asset in a world where multiple chains will coexist and need to interoperate. That is not a retreat from XRP conviction. That is the most sophisticated positioning of XRP's utility that Ripple has ever publicly articulated. Now let us talk about the urgency statement, because this is the one that most people on social media completely ignored. At Consensus, Garlinghouse issued a direct warning about the Clarity Act timeline. He said that if the Senate Banking Committee did not move in the next 2 weeks from early May, the chances of the Clarity Act passing in 2026 would drop precipitously. That statement was made in early May. The Senate Banking Committee voted 15-9 to advance the Clarity Act on May 14th, exactly within the 2-week window that Garlinghouse identified as the critical threshold. The CEO of Ripple told the world at Consensus that the window was closing, and then the window stayed open by 2 votes from Democratic senators who crossed party lines. Now the full Senate needs 60 votes. Senate recess begins August 10th. The mid-July window is the effective deadline. Garlinghouse's warning at Consensus was not pessimism. It was an accurate reading of the legislative calendar by someone who has been in Washington fighting for crypto regulation for years. And his warning came true in the best possible way. The committee voted, the bill advanced, and the August 10th countdown is now the most important legislative calendar date for XRP in 2026. Now let us talk about the RLUSD development that happened on May 20th, because it connects directly to what Garlinghouse described at Consensus. RLUSD circulating supply hit a new all-time high on May 20th of 2026, surpassing $1.65 billion. At Consensus, Garlinghouse specifically highlighted RLUSD growth and tokenization as the primary drivers of Ripple's institutional expansion strategy. He described RLUSD not as a product competing with XRP, but as a tool that accelerates XRP utility. Jack McDonald, Ripple's SVP of stablecoins, has confirmed explicitly that every RLUSD transaction on the XRP ledger requires XRP for fees and operations, without exception. So when RLUSD hits a new all-time high, it is not just a stablecoin milestone, it is a direct XRP utility milestone. Every dollar of RLUSD in circulation is generating ongoing mandatory XRP demand on the ledger. $1.65 billion of RLUSD, each dollar generating XRP activity on the ledger, at a scale that was not visible when Standard Chartered built its $2.80 base case model. Now let us talk about the volatility data, because this connects the Garlinghouse multi-chain narrative to the supply picture in a way that most people are not tracking. XRP's 30-day realized volatility has hit multi-year lows in 2026, driven by three simultaneous forces. First, ETF inflows locking supply in regulated custody. $1.39 billion in cumulative XRP ETF inflows means 886.8 million XRP removed from the tradable market permanently. Second, ODL growth creating consistent bidirectional demand pressure that smooths price discovery across corridors. Third, post-SEC clarity reducing the pure speculation premium that historically created XRP's volatility spikes. When Garlinghouse says it is a multi-chain world, he is describing a future where XRP's utility is so embedded in institutional infrastructure that its price behavior begins to reflect settlement demand rather than speculative positioning. That shift from speculative asset to settlement infrastructure is already visible in the volatility data. The 30-day realized volatility hitting multi-year lows is the early signal of the transition Garlinghouse described at Consensus. Now let us connect the consensus statements to the supply compression picture. Exchange reserves have dropped from 3.76 billion XRP to approximately 1.66 billion XRP since October 2025. That is a 56% decline in liquid supply in under 8 months. Whale wallets controlling 68.5% of circulating supply are holding in private custody. CME futures launched on May 19th with $19 million in first-day notional volume. EDX markets backed by Citadel and Fidelity and Schwab integrated with Ripple Prime on May 19th. And Rakuten Pay integrated XRP for 44 million active users across 5 million merchants in Japan. Each of these developments is evidence of the multi-chain institutional world that Garlinghouse described at Consensus. Each represents a different entry point for capital and utility demand into the same compressed supply picture. Now let us talk about the exact quote that most people missed in the consensus coverage. Garlinghouse said clarity is better than chaos. That 4-word statement delivered at Consensus 2026 is the distillation of everything Ripple has been building toward since the SEC filed its lawsuit in 2020. Clarity is better than chaos is not a marketing slogan. It is a description of the exact mechanism by which institutional capital flows into XRP at scale. Institutional capital does not move into chaos. It moves into clarity. Every bank compliance department that has been waiting to approve XRP-related products has been waiting for clarity. Every asset manager that has been monitoring the regulatory situation before allocating has been waiting for clarity. Every payment provider that has been evaluating ODL before committing to a full deployment has been waiting for clarity. The Clarity Act, advancing 15-9 from committee, with Gallego and also Brooks crossing party lines, is delivering exactly what Garlinghouse described, and the August 10th Senate recess deadline means the window for that clarity to arrive in 2026 closes in approximately 11 weeks. Now let us talk about what the Garlinghouse consensus statements mean when you place them on top of the Galaxy Digital and Standard Chartered price math. Standard Chartered's base case of $2.80 by end of 2026 assumes ETF inflows of $4 to $8 billion and confirmed regulatory clarity. Galaxy Digital shows 1% Swift capture, justifying $4 to $5 structurally. Both of those models were built before Garlinghouse confirmed at consensus that Ripple's acquisitions are targeting real-world adoption, before RLUSD hit $1.65 billion in circulating supply. Before CME futures launched, before EDX markets integrated with Ripple Prime, before Rakuten deployed XRP to 44 million users in Japan. The data confirming Garlinghouse's consensus thesis is arriving faster than the institutional models captured when they set their price targets. Now I want to address something directly, because this community deserves a rational voice on what the consensus statements actually mean and what they do not mean. Garlinghouse saying he is not an XRP Maxi does not mean he lacks conviction in XRP's role in the multi-chain world. It means his conviction is based on XRP's specific utility function rather than tribalism. David Schwartz has been consistent about this. The bull case for XRP is built on visible data and measurable institutional adoption, not on maximalist narratives that dismiss competing chains. The rational framework for understanding the consensus statements is this. Garlinghouse described a multi-chain world where XRP functions as the bridge asset. He confirmed the Clarity Act urgency that has since materialized in the 15-9 committee vote. He highlighted RLUSD growth that has since hit a new all-time high. And he issued a warning about the legislative timeline that has since proven accurate. These are not vague bullish statements. They are specific predictions that have been confirmed by subsequent events. Now, I want to talk about what most people in this community are getting wrong right now. XRP is trading between $1.37 and $1.38. Garlinghouse confirmed at consensus that XRP is the bridge in a multi-chain world. RLUSD hit a new all-time high on May 20th. The Clarity Act advanced exactly within the window Garlinghouse identified. CME futures launched. EDX markets integrated with Ripple Prime. Rakuten integrated XRP for 44 million users in Japan, and the retail market is watching a sideways price chart and asking when the consensus promises will materialize in price. They are already materializing. RLUSD at a new all-time high is Garlinghouse's multi-chain thesis materializing. CME futures at $19 million day one volume is his institutional utility thesis materializing. The 15-9 committee vote is his clarity over chaos thesis materializing. The price chart is the last thing to reflect what the data is already showing. So let us zoom out and see the complete picture assembling right now. Brad Garlinghouse at Consensus 2026. 3 statements. Not an XRP Maxi. Multi-chain world. Clarity better than chaos. Clarity Act. Urgency warning confirmed by 15-9 committee vote. RLUSD, new all-time high, $1.65 billion on May 20th. XRP 30-day volatility at multi-year lows. ETF, cumulative inflows $1.39 billion. CME futures, $19 million debut May 19th. EDX markets, Citadel, Fidelity, Schwab, integrated with Ripple Prime. Rakuten, 44 million users, 5 million merchants, Japan. Exchange reserves down 56%. Whale wallets, 68.5%. August 10th, Senate recess deadline 11 weeks away. Garlinghouse said it at consensus. The data is confirming it in real time. If this analysis changed how you were thinking about what Brad Garlinghouse actually said at consensus and what it means for XRP right now, hit like and subscribe. I drop deep dive breakdowns like this twice a day to keep you ahead of the move.